Trump shut the door on some of Asia's biggest countries, and the reason why will make your blood boil. You need to know what went down because it's bigger than you think. Subscribe now or you're gonna miss out on the truth they don't want you to hear. Hit that bell. This story's just getting started. Here's the thing, Trump didn't just make life hard for China, he straight up made it a damn nightmare. You think you're some college kid dreaming of a future, thinking, hey, I can go to the US, study, maybe work at Google, build the next big tech startup. Nah, not under Trump's rule. Forget it. But if you're a Chinese student, let's say, some kid named Chen, you've been busting your ass your whole life, thinking, I'm gonna make it. And then bam, Trump slaps you across the face with tighter visa restrictions, the cold shoulder, and good luck trying to get a student visa to study technology. You're on the chopping block, just because you happen to be born in China. You kidding me? But wait, let me break it down for you in terms you can understand. This wasn't about some imaginary fear of a few students. No, this was Trump's paranoid ass, worrying that Chinese nationals were spying, stealing US tech, and handing it over to Beijing. And you know what? His administration was so goddamn sure of it that they went full throttle, making life miserable for anyone trying to step foot in the US. If you wanted to study tech or engineering, sorry pal, you're not welcome here. They practically shut the door in your face. Now let's talk facts. Under Trump's regime, the US slapped some of the tightest visa restrictions on Chinese nationals we've ever seen. And it wasn't just students, business people, researchers, anyone connected to high-tech industries were treated like enemies of the state. What was the reason? Oh, national security concerns. Translation, Trump was so terrified that China was going to out-tech the US that he decided to treat everyone like they were a threat. That trade war, don't even get me started. Trump dragged us into a full-scale trade war over tariffs and accusations of unfair practices. The tension was palpable. China was America's biggest rival and Trump was ready to go to war over it. Hell, the US even brought up Hong Kong and Taiwan to stir the pot even more. But you, the one watching this, you think it's just some political drama, right? Wrong. This shit had real consequences. Chinese students, business people, and tech enthusiasts who were simply trying to build their future in the US were left out in the cold. And for what? A goddamn political game. They didn't get a fair shot. Chen didn't get a fair shot. And what's the result of all this? Nothing but wasted potential, broken dreams, and a deeper divide between two countries that should have been working together. So don't sit there acting like this wasn't a big deal. It was. And if you don't think so, you're part of the problem. This wasn't about security. It was about fear and control. Smash that like button if you're as pissed off about this as I am, because what we've got coming next will make you question everything you thought you knew about Trump's policies. This train's just getting started, and you better not miss what's coming next. All right, buckle the hell up because it's about to get real. Let me tell you exactly how it went down. Trump didn't just make life hard for people. He went out of his way to fuck up the future for so many people, and India was ground zero. Let's talk about Raj, okay? This kid worked his ass off to get his degree in tech, busted his balls to get that H-1B visa, and what does he get? Trump's fucking wall. Trump, this guy decided to make a whole goddamn career out of slamming the door in the face of skilled professionals, especially from India. He hated the idea that foreign workers were taking jobs, but you know what? That wasn't the issue. The issue was Trump wanted to play politics, slap around some numbers, and get some votes. But the real impact? Tech companies were left scrambling. Jobs went unfilled. Innovation stalled. The American economy suffered because of his tantrum. Here's the cold hard truth. In 2017, over 70% of the H-1B visas went to Indian nationals. That's no accident. These are the people building the apps you use every day. They're the ones working in tech labs, creating the software that makes your damn life easier. And Trump's plan? Cut them off. Take away the talent that US companies were begging for. Why? Because he wanted to score political points, all while ignoring the damage he was doing. Let's break it down. The H-1B visa program wasn't some free-for-all. It was a way for companies to bring in skilled workers where the talent pool was drying up. But Trump didn't care. His America First bullshit didn't care that the tech sector needed those workers. Workers who were highly trained, highly skilled, and more than qualified to do the job. No, he went full throttle, putting up barriers just to say he did something about immigration. So let me ask you something. Who does that benefit? Who wins when you cut off access to some of the world's best talent? No one. Companies can't find qualified workers, startups fail, tech slows down, the future gets dimmer, all because some idiot with a power trip decided to take it all away. You think America was better off with fewer of those professionals coming in? You think this made us stronger? It didn't. It made us weaker, and the consequences are right there in front of you. The world moved on without us, and now we're behind, way behind. So no, don't sit there thinking this was a win. It wasn't. It was a goddamn disaster. Now let's pick up where we left off. We just got done talking about India, right? How Trump went full throttle after the H-1B visa program, slamming the door on skilled tech workers from India. And now here we are with Pakistan, another country that got thrown into the mess with a goddamn slam. You know the deal by now. Trump's America First policy was all about wrapping America in bubble wrap and locking the door behind him. And Pakistan, oh, you better believe it got caught in the crossfire. Trump had this thing where he couldn't stop talking about terrorism. And guess what? Pakistan was at the top of his list. The guy painted the whole country as a breeding ground for extremists. Never mind the fact that there were millions of innocent Pakistanis just trying to make a living, contribute, and better their lives. Let me throw you into the shoes of someone like Ali, a Pakistani guy who's fought tooth and nail through school, hustled his way into the tech industry, and now he's got a shot at going to the US for a fresh start. But bam, Trump's policies hit like a freight train. Now Ali's just another face in the crowd of people who are getting denied for no damn reason. Why? Because the US government decided it was easier to make an entire country the scapegoat for the actions of extremists. Ali didn't stand a chance. And what happens next? Trump, in all his wisdom, decided to slap tougher visa requirements on Pakistanis. He pushed it so hard that anyone even remotely tied to Pakistan had to jump through flaming hoops just to get a shot at entering the US. It's like Trump forgot that not every Pakistani was a terrorist, yet he threw everyone into the same pot because it was easier to stir up fear than actually fix the real problem. This move wasn't about keeping Americans safe. Hell, no. It was about playing to the base, about turning national security into a political circus while ignoring the damage to hardworking people like Ali, who were just looking for an opportunity to succeed. Just like we saw with India, these restrictions didn't just hurt the individuals, they hurt the American economy. The tech industry was already struggling with a shortage of skilled workers, and now here comes Trump making it even harder for them to get the talent they needed. So guess what happened? Companies started looking elsewhere. It wasn't just Pakistan and India that got hit, the ripple effect spread and it made things harder for skilled immigrants from all over the world. And the consequences? Missed opportunities, lost innovation, and a workforce left scrambling to make up for what we lost. So here's what I want to know. Are we really better off by closing the door on people who could have been a game changer? People like Ali who just wanted to make his mark? Hell no, we're not. We took a major L by letting that policy slide. But stay tuned because next we're diving into how the rest of the world felt the impact. Don't go anywhere. Trust me, you're not going to want to miss what's coming next. Let's cut the crap. North Korea wasn't just a threat to the US under Trump. It was the nuclear grenade no one wanted to touch. Imagine dealing with a leader like Kim Jong-un who was literally playing who's got the bigger button with the entire planet. Trump wasn't exactly backing down either, but when it comes to negotiating with a guy who thinks he's untouchable, things get a little tricky. And trust me, the world felt every bit of it. Let's talk real quick about Kim Jong-un and his regime. A country so shrouded in secrecy that even their own people don't know what's happening beyond their borders. We're talking about a place where starvation is a problem, people are sent to labor camps for looking at the wrong person, and the leader has his own damn luxury train for whenever he wants to make an appearance. Meanwhile, Trump's trying to pull off deals with him like they're swapping business cards at a conference, and while he's playing nice, North Korea's testing missiles like they're checking if they're firecrackers still work. Now, imagine you're someone like Jay, a defector from North Korea who risked their life to escape a country where your every move is monitored. Jay's dream? A fresh start, maybe to see what freedom actually feels like. But no, Trump's administration wasn't concerned with Jay's dreams. Nope, all they saw were missiles, espionage, and a regime that doesn't care about human rights. So Jay's visa application tossed out with the trash. And Jay isn't the only one. Thousands of innocent North Koreans had their futures crushed simply because they came from a country that the US had already marked as a threat. Now let's be real here, Trump's America First policy made sure that any country seen as a danger to national security got slammed with tougher restrictions. But it's not just about politics, is it? This wasn't just some theoretical security concern, it was about real people like Jay who simply wanted to live without fear of getting dragged back into a nightmare. And this is where things get heavy. What do we do with the people trying to escape? Is this how we treat those looking for a life of peace? Trump was worried about spies and nukes, sure, but don't forget the people trapped in North Korea didn't have a choice. They were born into it. But hey, I'm not done yet. You really want to know what happened next? You're going to want to stick around because there's more of this madness coming. The truth isn't always pretty, but it's about to get even uglier. Keep watching. Let's get this straight. Trump had it out for Iran. There was no pretending otherwise. He didn't just disagree with the country. He wanted to wipe the slate clean and start from scratch. And that meant pulling the US out of the Iran nuclear deal in 2018. Why? Because Trump saw Iran's nuclear ambitions as a ticking time bomb, ready to go off at any moment. And here's where it gets messy. By pulling out of the deal, Trump effectively declared war on Iran's global presence. He slapped them with crippling sanctions, and what did that mean for the people? Iranian nationals, students, professionals, refugees, you name it, they were stuck between a rock and a hard place. These weren't just policy moves, they were personal consequences. Let's talk about Sarah, a young woman who dreamed of studying astrophysics in the US. She had the grades, the passion, the future. But thanks to Trump's maximum pressure campaign, her visa application got tossed aside. You know what she got instead? A giant middle finger from the system. Now imagine that. You've spent your whole life working for a shot at a better life, studying at a top university, getting the training you need to make a difference in your home country, and just like that, the door slams shut. The US, the land of opportunity, is suddenly out of reach because of a policy that targets your entire nation. But that wasn't the end. The harder Trump pushed, the more difficult it became for Iranians to even get through the door. Travel bans, stricter visa vetting, long delays, and an endless process of scrutiny were the new normal. As if that wasn't bad enough, those seeking asylum had to jump through flaming hoops just to be seen as a potential threat, not a person looking to escape danger. You see, Trump's whole idea was simple: isolate Iran. He believed that by choking off their ability to influence the region and the world, he was somehow securing American safety. But was it really just about nukes, or was it about something more? The people, the real people caught in this mess. Let's get real. While Trump was playing geopolitical chess, ordinary Iranians, just like Sarah, were left on the sidelines, waiting for a chance that might never come. And trust me, it wasn't just them. It was anyone from Iran who wanted to build a life outside of their borders, and they didn't get it. So yeah, Trump's war on Iran wasn't just political, it was deeply personal. But here's the kicker, it's not over yet. Stick around because there's more to come. What happens next will make your blood boil, you won't want to miss it. Imagine this. You're living in a country ravaged by poverty, political instability, and natural disasters. You've seen your loved ones suffer, watched opportunities slip through your fingers, and fought against a system that keeps pushing you down. The only thing that keeps you going is the dream of a better life. And that dream, the United States. For millions of Bangladeshis, that dream was crushed under the boot of Trump's immigration policies. Let's break it down. Bangladesh, with its staggering refugee population and countless people fleeing for a better life, found itself on the wrong side of Trump's immigration policies. Why? Because Trump didn't want more immigrants from countries seen as high risk. And Bangladesh, with all its political unrest and poverty, was high risk in his eyes. Now picture this. Reena, a bright young woman from Dhaka, had always dreamed of studying in the US. She had the grades, the passion, and the drive to make it happen. She wanted to be the next tech genius, a trailblazer who could help her community. But when she applied for a student visa, denied. Just like that, one rejection letter after another, no matter how many times she tried, all because of Trump's tight restrictions on visa applications from countries like hers. And it wasn't just students, it was refugees, people who had nowhere to go, nothing left to lose. The Trump administration slammed the door shut, reducing the number of refugees from countries like Bangladesh. Refugees who were fleeing violence, hunger, and terror were now faced with a cruel reality: no escape. How messed up is that? This wasn't just a policy, it was a life sentence for people like Reena, stuck in a broken system with no way out, all because their country had been deemed too risky by a man sitting comfortably behind a desk in a plush office. But wait, this wasn't a one-off. It wasn't just Bangladesh, it was a pattern, a constant shutting down of any hope for those desperate for a fresh start. The policies were clear: cut down the number of immigrants from countries with instability, and Bangladesh fell right into that category. So here's where it hits. This wasn't just a matter of national security. It wasn't about protecting the US. It was about punishing those who were already struggling, making sure that the people who needed help the most, people just like Reena, were left to fight for their lives in an impossible system. But don't go anywhere, because this story isn't over. I'm about to dive deeper into how Trump's policies affected even more countries. If you thought this was bad, wait until you hear what's coming next. Trust me, you're not ready for it. Now it's your turn. What do you think? Was this fair? Leave your thoughts in the comments. I'm dying to hear what you have to say. Let me tell you something straight up. Imagine being trapped in the middle of a war zone. Bombs are dropping, your house is rubble, and you're watching your kids suffer. Every day is a nightmare. Now imagine you finally get the chance to escape that hell, to give your children a chance at life in a country that claims to be a beacon of hope, but then this twisted system slams the door in your face. That's exactly what happened to families like Ahmed's in Syria. Ahmed was just a dad trying to protect his kids, trying to survive in the absolute hellscape that was Aleppo. He applied for refugee status to the US after watching his home get destroyed. He didn't ask for a handout. He didn't ask to take a job. He asked for safety, a chance to keep his children alive. But what did Trump's America do? Shut him out, turned its back. The US slammed its doors on people like Ahmed because of fear that extremists might hide among refugees. Guess what? Not every single refugee is a threat, but this government treated them like they were all the same. They were all judged based on the actions of a few, and that's where the hypocrisy lies. Ahmed wasn't a threat. He was just a father, one of thousands trying to get out of a country that was falling apart. But no, the US couldn't even offer a shred of humanity. Nope, the door was locked tight. Trump's America First policy? What a joke. What happened to helping those in need? Syria wasn't just a country on the map, it was a people who had nowhere to go, no safe haven left, and instead of opening their arms, America shut them down and turned its back on real human beings. You want to talk about national security? But what about human security? What about the lives of families who are begging for a chance to breathe? Trump used fear and politics to make them feel like they weren't even human. This is beyond messed up. This is cruel. And let's be honest, the decision wasn't even about security. It was about shutting down the real threat. Empathy. Let's call it what it was. Pure ignorance wrapped in a nice little package of, we don't care. So yeah, I'm pissed. I'm beyond pissed. You can't just turn your back on innocent people and pretend like you're right. The truth hurts, doesn't it? It should. Because what happened to the Syrians? What happened to families like Ahmed's? It was unjust. And guess what? It doesn't end there. We've got more countries to cover, and trust me, it's only gonna get worse from here. Stay tuned, because you need to hear this. You want to talk about betrayal? Let me take you inside the heart of it. Imagine this. You're a guy, just like any other, who's lived through hell on earth. Bombs falling, families shattered, your own friends cut down in the streets, and after all of it, you make one choice. You stand by the American soldiers because you believe in something greater. You risk your life because they promised you a way out, a way to escape the chaos you were born into, a future, a better life. You're not just anyone. You're a lifeline, a translator, someone who gave up everything for this dream. You held your breath through every patrol, hoping to make it out, knowing every minute could be your last. But you fought, you sacrificed, you trusted them. Then what happens? Trump steps in with his America First policy, and boom, the door is slammed shut in your face. No visa, no asylum, no chance to live, to escape, to breathe in freedom. It doesn't matter that you saved lives. It doesn't matter that you're one of the good ones. What matters is that your country is in chaos, and Trump saw that as a threat. So, like a cold-hearted machine, he slashed any hope of safety for people like you. This isn't a story from a movie. This is Farid's reality. Farid, a translator who risked everything to help American soldiers, was abandoned by the very country he bled for. He worked his ass off, watched his brothers in arms die for the promise of safety, and when it was his turn to leave, to find peace, he was told, sorry, you're a risk. So yeah, you better believe this hits home. Trump didn't just make a policy, he made a statement. That statement was, you don't matter. Your life, your sacrifice, it's worth nothing. Is that not the most soul-crushing thing you've ever heard? Because let me tell you, it wasn't just Farid, it was thousands of people who trusted in that promise only to have it ripped away. And guess what? They're still feeling the sting of that decision, living with it every single day. And we're still dealing with it. You think the system changed? Think again. People who fought for us, who risked their lives in a foreign war, are still stuck in limbo, unable to get the help they deserve. But we should care, because this is just the beginning. If we let this happen, if we let this injustice slide, who are we? What does that say about us as a nation? Don't be silent. This is your chance to speak up. What would you have done if you were Farid? Would you have been willing to die for this country? Let me know your thoughts in the comments, because trust me, we need to talk about this. We have to. And if you think this is bad, just wait. Our next country is about to show you a whole new level of injustice. Buckle up. This ride isn't over yet. This is gonna sting hard. You ready? Let's talk about Myanmar. Ever heard of the Rohingya Muslims? No? Well, get ready for a gut punch. Imagine living in a place where your entire existence is a war zone, where your people are systematically wiped out because of who you are. That's Myanmar. The military there has been accused of committing horrific atrocities against the Rohingya minority, forcing thousands to flee for their lives. But here's where it gets ugly. Despite the US publicly condemning Myanmar's actions, Trump's administration slapped restrictions on the very people who needed refuge the most. You can't make this up. They decided to make it harder for Myanmar nationals to gain asylum or refugee status in the US. It's like telling someone drowning in a sea of violence, sorry, you're too much of a risk for us. Let me drop a story for you. There's this young woman, Syria, living in one of Myanmar's worst hit areas. She watched as her family's home was burned to the ground by the military, forced to flee with nothing but the clothes on her back. And where does she go? Well, after months of trying to find safety, she thought the US might be her last hope. But nope, thanks to Trump's tightened visa and refugee policies, Syria was faced with walls, barriers, and endless paperwork, while the world just watched her suffer. Hold up, wait a second. If you haven't subscribed yet, do it right now. You don't want to miss out on the rest of these stories. These are the facts you need to hear. Don't be the one left out of the loop. Hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and let's dive back into it. It's real, folks. These policies didn't just impact a few, they affected lives. Lives of people like Syria, who risked everything for a shot at safety. And the US, the place that many dreamed of as a beacon of hope, turned its back. Now let me ask you, how does this sit with you? Is this what America stands for? Should we be turning people away, especially when they've seen hell on earth? Don't just sit there, comment below and let me know your thoughts. Hit that like button too, because we're only getting started. Next up, we've got another country you won't believe made the list. You won't want to miss it. Imagine being here in the land you thought would give you a shot at a better life, just to have the rug ripped out from under you. Min came to the US years ago. He did it the right way. He got his visa, worked hard, paid taxes, and built a life here. And then, one day, out of nowhere, a goddamn knock on the door. Immigration agents. They haul his ass away, toss him in a plane, and send him back. No warning, no empathy, just a phone call, and boom, his family is shattered. He did nothing wrong. He wasn't a criminal. Hell, he was a damn hard worker. But none of that mattered to Trump and his policies. They were more concerned about tightening the rules and sending people like Min back, even though they'd spent decades in the US. Trump made a deal with Vietnam to speed up deportations of people who overstayed their visas, and you know what? It worked. Families got torn apart, dreams were shattered. It wasn't about America first, it was about making sure the people who had built lives here, the ones who had contributed, were exiled without a second thought. What about the refugees, the ones who fled war, terror, and hell on earth thinking they'd find a safer life? Their chances were thrown out the window. The numbers plummeted. All they wanted was safety, a future for their kids. Instead, they were shut out, left to rot in a world that didn't care. This wasn't about security or law, it was about control. And the cost? Families ripped apart, futures destroyed. It's pure rage-inducing when you think about it. Trump turned his back on people like Min, and there's nothing that can change that. It's insane.